Okay, this is an issue that I think most introverts can relate to, and it's one I absolutely, even to this day, relate to. A lot of us can be people pleasers. We can go with the grain, we're quick to agree with what somebody else is saying. And the reasoning behind this is usually just because it's easier to go along with what the person is saying, agreeing with them, because then there's no conflict, there's no rocking of the boat, and it makes everything go smoother. Every interaction goes smoother. But the problem with this is a lot bigger than I think we both realize. Okay, well, I can give you multiple examples of me being a people pleaser that it would go on forever. Literally, one I can immediately remember is I was talking to an acquaintance about how I read this book called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, and I was telling him about this, and he was like, oh yeah, he's the guy that shit himself, right? And I had absolutely no idea if that was true or not. I think there is something about him having an issue with his, rectum area, but I had no idea about that at that time. And instead of, maybe being a bit more questioning about it, like, really? Where did you read that about? Or something along those lines. I simply was like, oh, yeah, him. Just agreeing blindly. And again, I could, give you some fake story, but honestly, it was just because it's easier to go along with what somebody's saying to make them like you better, rather than try to rock the boat. But the problem with this is that it doesn't even get you that much more liked. You'd think that being somebody who's non-confrontational at all, somebody who agrees with everything, would make you like the most beloved person in your system, in your school, in your workplace, in college. But usually, it gets you the title of background character. I've literally been told once that, Tando, sometimes you act like an NPC, not gonna lie. And I think it's because being a people pleaser is like having this liked by none, hated by none, tolerated by all mentality. And it's tough. It's like a personal purgatory, because nobody wants to be hated. Of course not. But we do want to be loved. But it's like a yin and yang thing. You can't have a person that's truly loved without people also hate them. So they would rather stay in this tolerated by all box, where they're not anybody that would cause a stir. Nobody would get upset if they see them at all. But no one would also get excited. No one's going to wish you happy birthday. No one's going to message you on your birthday saying, hey, happy birthday. Nobody's going to invite you out when there's a plan, because you're just the person who's tolerated, not loved. And that's something I need to come to grips with as well. I feel like throughout most of my school career, I've been optimizing more for being tolerated than being loved. And of course, you shouldn't do acts just to be loved, but you know what I'm trying to say. I usually just try to be the person that's a people pleaser, rather than somebody who's maybe a bit more sarcastic, a bit more genuine about my feelings sometimes. And I think if I had something like the full introvert guide, which I've made recently, all for you, it would have made it a lot easier to progress. I wouldn't have to go through as many roadblocks as I did. So check it out. I think it'll be well worth your time. But I think what you really need to take away from this is to be as authentic as possible to yourself. Because it's so easy to put on some sort of mask. That's why I don't really like these tricks, like these hacks, like pretend to be Brad Pitt, pretend to be Patrick Bateman, whatever. Because being authentic to yourself means you're automatically filtering out everybody who you wouldn't be friends with. And that's what you want, don't you? Why would you want to hang out with people that you don't even vibe with? Like, just to have a warm body next to you? No. Pardon me. What you want is genuine connection with people that actually care about you. And that comes through authenticity. And it may be that it takes longer. It will. Possibly will. Because now you're narrowing the bottle. It's like a funnel. Because by you being an authentic version of yourself rather than a people pleaser that likes to be the best friend to everybody, then you're going to naturally have less people that like you. But that's good because you don't need thousands of people to tolerate you. You just need like 2 or 3 that really like you. And I'm not gonna lie, I think as I've tried to do this more in the past few months, I have started to get more into that, liked by a few and hated, if you can even call it that, by a few. There are at least one person that does not like me at all that started recently as I've been more authentic to myself. And of course, I'm not going to say I'm excited about having somebody dislike me, but ultimately, I'm taking it as a sign that I'm going somewhere. I'm progressing. There's nobody's going to hate on somebody that has done nothing of importance, you know? So, yeah, just be authentic to yourself. It's not that complicated. And over time, I believe you will find the people that are right for you. It may take a bit longer, but we both know that like it's better to wait 1 or 2 years to find like 3 absolute like life ride or die brothers rather than a month and then you're stuck settling with like 5 people that you tolerate. They talk about stuff you don't give a damn about. You're constantly the odd man out. They even make jokes about you sometimes. And that's not the kind of friendship you want. Honestly, the whole thing reminds me a lot of the Ash conformity experiment. You may have heard of it. I researched it over the weekend. Basically, this guy wanted to see how people conform, like the name conformity experiment. And so he grouped a bunch of people into a room and asked them all the length of these like lines that were on the board. But only one person was actually being experimented on. The other like 5 or 6 were all Confederates. They were in on the experiment and they were instructed to give incorrect answers, a unanimous incorrect answer. And what do you know? The person that was the odd man out, who wasn't in on the experiment, because he saw everybody else giving incorrect answers, even though he could see with his own eyes what he believed was the correct answer, he went with the majority. Why? Well, it's simple. Because being different is uncomfortable. It's much easier to go with the flow, even if that means ignoring your gut or being somebody who you're not really. But we can rise above that because we're not just introverts. We're strong introverts. We're resilient introverts. And in time, that will be our greatest strength. Dang, I was kind of cooking on that one. Okay, well, anyway, thank you so much for watching. And remember, take action, learn from failure. See ya.